Welcome to Hox's 4, one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. It has little life on the surface, but teems with dangerous flora and fauna underground. Although its rich mineral content and numerous gold deposits are potentially very profitable, the high hazard level of the region has scared off any potential miners, except, of course, for you. As a miner for Deep Rock Galactic, you and 3 other of your dwarven friends make routine incursions into the deepest and darkest sections of the planet, on a journey into the unknown with dubious odds of returning. Fame, fortune, and riches await, but so may death and destruction. At its core, Deep Rock thrives in moments of tense action, powerful atmosphere, dynamic movement and traversal, and flawless teamwork. These individual elements come together so beautifully that the only possible outcome is not just a video game, but an experience, where your skills and reflexes are tested in conjunction with your mind functioning at its very highest. Caving in Hox's feels both coherent and comprehensive. All 9 of its primary ecological biomes are distinct from each other, both in shape and in appearance, which gives each biome a unique feeling to explore. Over time, individual players will learn some of the quirks of each biome, such as the sandblasted corridor's large horizontal caverns, or the dense biozone's huge masses of coral. While some of these patterns are much more obvious than others, after hundreds of hours, the generation systems of the game can still be mystifying, which keeps it from becoming predictable. Fundamentally, the systems of enemy spawning, cave generation, and ore distribution are kept as mysterious as possible, and this unpredictability makes Hox's feel dangerous and alien. Lighting serves a huge role in Deep Rock. After defeating an enemy hundreds, even thousands of times, one of the most interesting ways to keep them a threat is by keeping them hidden. Lights are rare in the caves, with limited bioluminescence from some plants and animals, but with most of it coming from the player. Only one of the game's 4 main characters has a dedicated lighting-related item, so the visibility of the areas being traversed is largely obscured. Ceilings and walls are kept dark, and floors are only lit up by the flares and headlamps of the dwarves. It's difficult to explain how much of a shudder one gets from throwing a flare down a tunnel of a cave, only to see the walls lined with bugs. When talking about the atmosphere, it would be remiss not to mention what the music brings to the table. Deep Rock Galactic has a dark synthwave soundtrack with pumping synth and shrieking chords. The style of music syncs with the pacing of the game, with almost complete silence at the beginning of every mission. As you descend into the dark, music complements you, slowly fading into the background and urging you on. Then, shortly after, once you've gotten comfortable in this unfamiliar environment, the voice in your ear warns you of an incoming swarm, and the music turns up, piercing into your eardrums, reminding you that this is not your home and the homeowner is angry, ready to end your life. And then the music hits a sharp note to send you into intense, heart-pumping action. Given your minorly status as a dwarf and your complete and unfettered disregard for the environment, the caves of Hox's are entirely destructible. This element of breakable terrain allows the game to truly take place in 3 dimensions. Most shooter games are largely boots on the ground, with plenty of movement on the ground, but much more limited options in the air. Not so in Deep Rock. The softness of the environment and the hardness of the pickaxe gives the player a huge range of options for any given scenario, much more than other games. Traversal is a huge part of Deep Rock's gameplay. Caves are completely randomized, with only a few similarities between each mission, making every single foray into the deep a unique challenge. Each of the game's 4 classes crosses the environment in their own unique way. The gunner and his ziplines allow for aerial combat and slow upwards travel. The driller's high-powered drills let him chew through the terrain like butter. The scout with his flare gun and grappling hook give him the ability to fly through caves like a bird, and the engineer with his platform guns lets him create structures, mining platforms, and bunkers from thin air. Each class interacts with the environment in their own unique way, and it serves to make each mission different for each class, even for members of the same team. Movement is often at its most exhilarating during its edge cases. Some abilities on the fringe side of viability, namely special upgrades and perks, allow for extra movement for crazy scenarios. 2 of the characters have access to crazy movement tools, namely bullet and explosion-based repulsion, with Scout's shotgun jumping and Engineer's grenade jumps. The feeling of flight is a wonderful one, especially in the largest of caves. This traversal is unique, interesting, and satisfying, namely because of how much power it puts into the hands of those playing. Where most games will give their players a very limited range of movement, Deep Rock Galactic gives its players the tools to move at their own will, and only restricts them in a few ways. Of the 4 playable classes, each has their own difficulties with certain types of movement. Scouts, while able to move very fast and in almost any direction, find difficulty using their grappling hooks during combat. Drillers, even though they can rip through ground with their drills, have very limited fuel and have to manage the heat of the drills. Engineers have an incredibly versatile terrain creation tool, but cannot efficiently destroy terrain or travel vertically. And poor Gunner, with his main class weakness being movement, struggles to travel vertically, destroy terrain, or move quickly, but he still has the incredibly powerful ability to suspend himself in the air during combat. Each of the movement systems of each class is strong in some way, but has a weakness that the other classes must supplement. The classes of Deep Rock are fundamentally designed to have particular weaknesses. A class may have a hard time finding single target damage, or area of effect damage, or movement, or ammunition efficiency, and this weakness cannot be covered with a different weapon choice or change in playstyle. These weaknesses are built into the base design of the character, and require teammates to use a different one most of the time. The strength of each class complements the next, which encourages the team to be balanced and friendly. Ore veins high on the walls can be hard to reach, but the engineer can place a platform for the scout to grapple to. Strategies and synergies like these are frequent and constant throughout the game, and they serve to increase the power and ability of each player. As the game's difficulty grows, the intuition the game forces you to have with your team increases, until you are able to work flawlessly together with players you've never seen or spoken with, even in the heat of the toughest battles. Deep Rock's teamwork isn't just encouraged, it's forced, not by tutorials and rules, but by cleverly crafted design, and over time, players subconsciously learn to play around their teammates rather than around themselves. You can play the game alone, and it's a great experience, but the game is at its best when you're playing with teammates, especially friends. It's incredibly fun and satisfying when you're pushed to the absolute limit of difficulty, and then through intuitive and natural teamwork, you barely inch your way out amidst constant fire and the never-ending waves of the skittering horde. Deep Rock Galactic's community is probably the friendliest and most open that can be found in the gaming community, an incredibly unique phenomenon across multiplayer games. The game's unique framing around teamwork and synergy fosters this friendliness through carefully crafted design, effortless teamwork, and the legendary salute. Rockin' Stone is a slogan, a salute, and a cheer. It is a celebration, a victory speech, and an expression of teamwork. When you've completed a mission or killed a powerful foe, pump your pickaxe into the air and rejoice that you've made it another step further. It's the most efficient form of communication in the entire game, with meanings ranging from "we did it" to "thank you" to "good job, boys." But whatever form this salute takes, it's always a positive one, which is emblematic of the spirit of the entire Deep Rock Galactic experience. It's a game you can play for 30 minutes or 30,000, with total strangers or with your best friends, and always come out with your heart pumping and your face covered in a smile, as you say to yourself hours later with a silly grin on your face, "Rockin' Stone," itching to return to the experience. And as you delve deep down into the mines and come out prosperous and wealthy, you head back where it all started, the Memorial Hall, the statues of gold looming around you.
The Memorial Hall is where we honor the fallen. Feel free to walk around and pay your respects.
And so you're left, battered but uplifted, bruised but unhardened, reveling in the atmosphere of the Memorial Hall as you honor the fallen.